Here we have a digital scale like the one that you'll be using in the classroom. Just weighing something, or finding the mass of it I should say, is quite easy. All you have to do is set the object on the silver tray and it'll give you a readout in grams. In this case, this MP3 player is 24.5 grams, so make sure that you notice the decimal point. If the scale does not go back to zero after you take an object off, all you simply have to do is hit the ReZero button on the right hand side, but in that case it really wasn't necessary, but I was just showing you where it was. The problem comes when you have to weigh a liquid or something that's a little bit on the messy side. You can't just pour the water on the scale, or you can't pour the messy substance on the scale. So for instance, if we want to weigh some salt, one way of doing that is to find the mass of the container that you're going to use. So in this case, this container weighs 3.5. Then we could add the salt, and that's 4.4. So we could take 4.4 and then subtract the weight of the container, and that being 3.5, and then that would give us the mass of the salt all by itself without the mass of the container. But there's actually an easier way on the scale. I'm going to zero it again. If I put the empty container on the scale, if I hit the zero button, it automatically takes into consideration the mass of the container. Then all I have to do is put in the salt, and then I'm just getting the mass of the salt, not the salt and the container. So the mass of the salt that I poured in there was 0.9. It's not taking the mass of the container into consideration at all. So that's a real easy way of getting around having to do the subtraction. Same thing is true for, ReZero the scale, if you have a liquid. If you're going to put a liquid in the container, you would have to find the mass of the container empty, and then later on subtract that from the mass of the container with the water in it. But we can again do the same thing. So we're going to put the container on. It weighs 34.1 grams. ReZero it. Now it's back to 0.0. So when I put the water in, it's measuring the mass of just the water and not the container. Okay, so I put in about 50 milliliters of water and I got 45.5 grams. In theory, the scale should say 50 because we know that 1 milliliter of water equals 1 gram, but it's pretty hard to pour exactly 50.0 milliliters of water in. You know, of course the scale could be off a little bit too. But when you do this in the lab, if you got something close to 50, then you did pretty well. So that's an easy way to use the zero button to get around the problem of having to subtract the container if you need to use a container for anything when you're doing a lab.